A walk, and we're gonna look at the L39 on the way, and then let's tour. All right.
Follow the guy. What's who? Yes.
Did you sign on?
And here we are, here at the airport in Sulpher Springs, following a herd of wild pilots. They are attracted to such things as cool factories and unusual aircraft. Let's be very quiet as we follow them. Perhaps we can catch one in the wild and analyze it.
Yeah, I know.
I was about to call you up on the phone.
Yeah, I got a fuel order in. He's gonna fill me up, and then I'll just go over there to the shack and pay for it. Hope it isn't $8 a gallon.
I don't know. I would expect something more like $3.69 or $3.79. Okay. Well, that's probably from the truck. If we'd have taxied over to the pump and put the card in the hole, it's probably way less than that.
Okay, I don't have to get on top of them.
But that's what you have me here for.
I had, I got gas one time in El Dorado. I just gave them an order and they were gonna gas it up. I came back and the plane had been moved back about 8 feet. And I noticed the aileron was bent. Then I talked to the guy and he said, my emergency brake came off of my gas truck and it rolled backwards and pushed your airplane.
I'll just be taking your insurance information right now.
I did, and they, it was 172 then. They put a new aileron.
Secret knock. Smells like a body shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Juan.
Paint and Bondo.
No Bondo in here.
Just
Got
paint.
some Mexican music going on here. Hey, Pete, how you doing?
Yeah.
I'm
doing well. Remember Sunbend?
Yeah. What brings you guys around here?
Live in
Canton. Shoot, man, you guys are.
That's where I retired to.
That's a great place.
It is.
That's a nice little place. Well, welcome to Legend Aircraft. I'm Darren Hart. I'm the founder of the company here. We started out in 2004. I've been in business for 16 years, getting ready to go on 17. So we have a lot of development going on and everything else going on, but 17 years being in business. Are you guys still involved, or are you just?
No,
Okay.
I sold it all.
Sold all.
Wow.
Well, good. Feel free to ask questions. You know, we're here to just show what we do here at Legend Aircraft and how we do things. We're a little bit of opposite direction. We usually start out in the weld shop and we're gonna do the cover shop and stuff. Okay? The 60% of our business is new aircraft, 40% is service work. So you'll see a Piper J3 Cub, which is similar to what we do. And this one just got sandblasted and being inspected. The green tape's all the repairs that we have to do. If you look around, you'll see a lot of pitting, a lot of past repairs being done on this airplane, stuff like that. A lot of clips being broken. And then these are winged body fairings and stuff, where people start out with number 4 screw and go to number 10 screw and so forth. So we'll end up cutting all that stuff out and replace it with new stuff. Thank you. Yeah. So, how many Cub guys we got here in the group? Anybody?
Maybe someday.
Maybe someday? Okay. Well, Piper J3 Cubs actually started out in 1937. So basically what we did is that When we started Legend Aircraft, we basically did what Piper did. Everybody asked what, how do we get the rights to build Piper aircraft? Well, they abandoned all their design and stuff. So there's no tube and fabric aircraft that Piper supports. So if you have a landing gear or an aileron or control cable, call Piper aircraft up. Say, I need a control cable for my elevator, and I say, no deal. So what Piper did is they released it out in public domain, and that's why you got companies like Univer and other companies, providing PMA parts for replacement for all tube fabric aircraft from Piper. So what we did is that when we started out in 2004, we went out to the Cub Club and went to the Smithsonian and stuff like that. All the drawings are there, you can buy them. We got every Piper drawing you could possibly get with it. We even got the tri-pacer and everything else. So all that you can call up Cub Club and say, well, that's a quick round. You can call up Piper Aircraft and say, or Cub Club and say, hey, I want a fuselage drawing for a Piper P-18 or J3 Cub, and they'll mail the drawings for that stuff. So we took that information and said, well, what can we do to make it a better airplane? So what we did is we reverse engineered it.
Put the gas
We used the
tank
Piper
here.
P-18 airframe basically. Basically what we did is that the wing attach points and landing gear attach points, we just widened it out 3 inches. So this same airframe, this is J3 Cub, with the exception of how things were done up here, we took this structure and just widened it out 3 inches. Took these landing gear fittings and widened out 3 inches here. So let's go over there and then we'll come back through here.
What do you prime it with?
We use an epoxy primer. It's an acid-ish primer.
Okay.
Yep.
What's PA-12?
That's a cruiser.
Is it the same airframe as the J3 or
No,
bigger?
it's a little bit different. It's wider.
You seat 2 in the back and 1 in the front, right?
Right. It came from the Piper J5.
Oh, okay.
You remember that one, Piper J5? Okay, this is actually, let's get everybody in here. Okay, everybody in. This is where we like to start everything, because this is basically where everything's all conceived and started here. So I said that we widened it out 3 inches at the landing gear attach points and wing attach points and made it wider. We put doors on both sides. And the other thing we did is we looked at all the service issues that were done that Piper experienced on the aircraft. We looked at their service bulletins, their ADs, all these STCs have been done. Piper Cubs probably have more STCs done than any airplane out there flying today. So we looked at that. We restored a P-18 this year, and I did 26 STCs on that one airplane.
Wow.
So there's just a lot out there.
Supplemental types are different.
The fuselage, we used SolidWorks to design it all, and then we took that machine language and converted over, and all of our tubes are all CNC cut and profiled. So basically, you'll see how these things all marry together and have a precise fit and stuff. Any questions on that?
Once you have all this stuff set up in the jig, how much welding time do you normally kind of budget to get it all stuck together?
This will go in the jig for about 10 hours. It takes about 10 hours to tack one up. And then it'll go over to the stage right behind you where everything gets all TIG welded.
Is this TIG welded or MIG?
This is just tacked with a MIG, and then we go back and TIG weld everything. It's a little bit different what other people do. If you know the quality of welds, usually you got gas selling welding, which is the old way. Then you got your TIG welding, and then some manufacturers, like our competitors, will use a MIG. It takes twice the time to do a TIG weld than it does a MIG weld. But we feel like the quality of a TIG weld is well worth the extra cost, in my opinion.
Doesn't overheat the metal.
Right.
Leave the MIG stuff for the muffler shops, right?
Right. Well, when you're welding, you're blending the metals, and you're getting a stronger bond when you use a TIG. And, so
It is definitely a more focused arc. I have a MIG machine. Self-taught, and it's like weld. Oh, that's ugly. Weld. That's a little bit better. Oh, it's a little bit better until you figure out your heat and your gas and all that crap.
you know, the welding, to me, we have 3 welders that work in this department, and I can't weld. I mean, I've tried. I'm not one of those patient people, but you know, it's a combination of a hand-eye coordination, dipping in the puddle, and then they use a foot controller to control the amperage. And
Figure eights.
My way of doing it is like I drive a car, man. It's full down and there's burning holes in it like crazy. So I just don't have the patience to do that. So, you know, it's kind of a born talent in my opinion. You know, you can sing or you can't sing. Well, I can't sing. You can weld or you can't weld. Well, I can't weld either. So, but I do a good job sweeping floors and writing checks. I can do that really well.
Do you leave air in the tubes, or do you evacuate it, or what do you do?
Well, that's a good question. What we did, Piper's biggest issue of their aircraft 75 years ago was the tubes basically rust from the inside out. Their largest AED that ever came out was on their wing struts. Every Piper Cub today, I would say 90% of them all have what they call sealed struts. And what they used to do is they used to have a little weep hole down the bottom of the strut, thinking that any moisture will run down the bottom of the strut and weep out that little hole. Well, being a tailwheel aircraft, they're thinking the same thing. They thought as a tail dragger, all the water would condense back in here, and they actually, on the Piper Cub, they have little holes buried in the bottom of these longerons. And you cover them with fabric, they get full of dirt, and they get plugged up, and basically have 100+ restorations. We probably only had 1 or 2 aircraft where we didn't have to cut the tail off the airplane or replace tubes. I mean, and I tell everybody, you know, that's looking at the market in the J3 or any tube factory aircraft, it's really a crapshoot what you're getting. I mean, I had airplanes that flew in from Florida, and the little sliding glass that, you know, on the J3 Cub, the water would come out against that in the rain when they're sitting outside, and we pulled the fabric off from the owner, and the whole longeron between the landing gear fittings was completely gone.
Powder.
So the only thing that was holding together was the landing gear legs. But, you know, he flew that in from Florida. And I could show you tail section after tail section we cut out, and you know the tubes are all rusted out and stuff. So what we did is we did the same thing on our fuselage. We have a closed environment system. So I'll just kind of show you. I'll run this airplane back here. Is that we'll see little holes. We've got one here and one here at various locations. Well, those serve as 2 purposes. When you weld up a weld, if you have an airlock or you lock it in there, you'll blow your welds out when you weld these things up. So these act like vents and stuff. And what we do is that we use a corrosion inhibitor, which should be around here somewhere. It's called Corrosion X, and we'll inject all the tubes with Corrosion X after it's welded, and they'll cap these out so they're a sealed environment system. Univair does the same thing on their wing struts. They'll take their wing struts and they'll fill them with linseed oil, whatever it is, and then they'll weld them up, and that's it. And anytime, if you don't have if you have an incomplete weld or something in there, you'll see that right away. We've had cases where, like the fittings for the strut fittings and landing gear fittings, there's 2 plates right there, and where they drill that hole right there, we'll see a little oil wet spot eventually show up in there, because that oil travel through those tubes and come out right there. So
Yeah, that Corrosion X crawls.
it crawls. It's great stuff. So
Yeah, it's good stuff.
yeah. So
It's great
Goes
for collecting dirt.
So the other thing is that back in the 40s and 50s and 60s, I mean, we go out to airports and we'll see tube factory aircraft all over out parked on the ramp or out in, you know, RAS strips and everywhere else. They're just normally parked outside. And today, I don't know if one of our aircraft is parked outside. I think every one of our owners has their airplane parked inside. So I won't be around 75 years from now, but I would expect that we'll see, you know, our airplanes will be hopefully still flying 75 years from now too.
I have a question about something about the
It's here.
changes to design. you mentioned you widened the fuselage by 3 inches, and I see on this airplane in particular, left side is matching the right side, so there is like a left door, or at least it's set up for left door.
Yeah.
So is there anything else? In particular, like in 2012, I tried to sit in one of your airplanes, back then at least, and it was really tight. I like couldn't fit, especially knee fit. Right, it was like right against the panel. It was like not, at least in the front, it was not possible to be there.
Yeah,
So,
if you're,
so I was
how
kind of
tall are you?
wondering.
How tall are you?
6'6".
6'6", yeah.
Yeah.
There's things we can do to customize that. One is that we've moved the seat back 2 or 3 more inches on some airplanes. We eliminate the back stick. So we actually have a guy that's 7'1" that owns our aircraft. So, you know, but we have to do customized things with the aircraft. You're right about the doors on both sides. That's standard. Basically, when we started the business in 2004, we went to Oshkosh, my business partner back there, and I went to go buy a Nick Smith or Smith Cups kit. And Nick Smith told me that he was going to be 18 months for the same kit. And that's basically how we got started in this business, is that we, you know, I said, I'm not waiting no 18 months. Light Sport got announced at Oshkosh in 2004. So we came back, and I had a jet interior business back then, and Tim Elliott was my business partner, and he had a software business. He flies the Citation around. I still fly Cubs around now, but we must have made the right decision. He's no longer part of the business. But you know, we said we'll just come back and invest money, and that's how Legend started out to be a hobby business. And we built the first 2 airplanes. We call them Tweety and Daphne. We still have both those airplanes. Showed up at Sun and Fun in 2005 and came back with 17 checks. And so we made a big splash back then. Back in 2005, 6, 7, and 8, we were averaging 4 aircraft a month. Our best month was 7 aircraft out the door a month. So today's a little bit different story. We typically do about 6 to 8 kits a year, and we do a dozen airplanes a year, about 1 a month. And then we do about 8 to 10 restorations.
Do you still have any that are Light Sport compliant or compatible?
We don't. The Light
Because
Sport,
these days they get more and more powerful all the time.
Yeah, the Light Sport market is kind of dwindling down a little bit right now, in my opinion. One is that the FAA is the only regulation or only category of aircraft, Light Sport, that they dictate what the maximum empty weight of the aircraft is, which is 1320 or 1430 on floats. So if you go out to a 172 who's grossed out at 2,800 pounds, Cessna said, well, we're gonna, you know, certify this airplane at 2,800 pounds, and that's where we're gonna test it, certify it to. Well, in Light Sport, we have basically a 1,750 pound gross airplane, Super Cub, and we're D-rating it down to 1320 to meet Light Sport.
Right.
Well, the problem that you have is that when you have like an AL3, we can get 500 pounds useful load aircraft because we're running about 820 pounds empty on aircraft.
Yeah.
But the problem is, you get 500 pounds useful load, but when you stick a big motor in there, even 180 horse, your useful load in the aircraft is restricted to 1320 or 1430 on floats. So we're kind of locked in, and we've been trying to get, and there's been a proposed rulemaking that we're waiting to come out, where hopefully Light Sport will get increased. There's talks of it even coming up to 3,800 pounds. Wow. So your 172s and everything will qualify hopefully one day as a Light Sport aircraft. So, and then you won't even have to have a basic med, you can have your driver's license to fly this aircraft around. But well, we're waiting to see what's going to happen and what the FAA is going to do on that. So what do? Well, we build Light Sport aircraft, and we do about maybe 2 or 3 LSA aircraft a year. The rest of them are experimental. We'll do the ELSA route, or we'll do the EAB, and we have a build assist program in the company. If you do EAB on our MOACs you'll see out there, we've we've gone up to 2,000 pounds gross weight on those things. So those airplanes that come out at 1,000 or 1,100 pounds, you're getting 900 pounds useful load out of the aircraft, which makes better use of their
Oh, yeah, that's
utility
fine.
out of
That's
the
better
aircraft.
than mine. I have
Yeah.
on the 880.
Yeah. So we're kind of locked in, but the new sport in aviation, in my opinion, is, and you're seeing this a lot, is the backcountry flyer. I mean, if you go out there and I call it therapy flying and flying around and stuff, you got your point A to B airplane, you got your Cessna 182 or Bonanza, wherever you're flying around, and you're going to A to B and stuff like that. These airplanes, you go out and fly for 30 minutes or an hour, 500 feet, and you're getting a whole different experience with the doors open and buzzing around. And the other fun thing that's going on is that we're getting a lot of stall competitions and backcountry flying and stall drags. You're getting all this stuff, and we participate in those things, and it's just plain out fun. I mean, we go up to Red River. There's 5 of us going up there about 3 weeks ago and playing on the sandbars and stuff. So you just, you know, you don't have to have airports to land these type of aircraft. And so it's just it's a great experience, and it's kind of become a big sport. I mean, if you're looking at the Patey brothers and what they're doing with their airplanes and other people doing with their airplanes, it's once you get hooked into it, you better watch out.
I notice all your cross-pricing is in one direction. Is that for compensate for pre-torque for the engine on the tail? Or?
It's more for how the truss was built. The fuselage is exactly like a Piper P-18, except for like I said, where we're buying it all out. All these tubes are exactly the same. You can take our tail surfaces and you can take our landing gear and a lot of our parts, and actually we buy Univer parts to build our airplane, and we'll bolt right onto a Piper Super Cub or P-18. The J3, you notice out there, the wing attaches into the center of the airplane on the front. And ours, the Super Cub, when Piper designed it, they moved the front spar attachment outside the fuselage. So even though we have an AL3, it looks like a J3 Cub, it's a Super Cub airframe with all the lookalikes of a Piper J3 Cub. We call that an AL3. The AL11 is like a PA11, and the AL11 is the Super Cub, where we add flaps and other things. Okay. So we've used every process out there in the market. Your Super Flights, your AirTech, your the one you have to paint, I can't remember the name of it, and waterborne systems, and by far we've used them all, and we settled out that Synchronite, the Randolph products, are probably the best one out there. And I think when you go out there and see the finished airplanes, you'll know what we're talking about. We've had problems with cracking and peeling, and the paint gets brittle and stuff. And I can tell you that the Randolph Star Gloss system is probably the best one out there in the market to cover an airplane. It's Synchronite 102, Dacron fabric. The old days they used to use cotton and Irish linens, and they put water on it and shrink the fabric. Today the Dacrons, you glue it on like Juan's doing over here, and you use the old classic iron. Don't use the ones with all the safety features on it. You forget to turn it off because they don't heat up properly and do the right job. You can still buy those classic irons. We buy them by the half a dozen from Amazon, and you still buy them today. So by far that's the best one for doing fabric work. We use the blanket method, like the ones we know over here. We do the bottom. We do have a sewn seam on the backbone on top of the fuselage where we sew it up, and then we go up to the lower launcher and back on the fuselage and stuff. The wings are blanket method. Basically what you're doing is you're having an overlap on the leading edge and all the way around the wing, and they'll stretch that roll of fabric on there and glue it down, and they'll flip it over and glue the other side down. They'll shrink it up, rib stitch it, tape it, and this one right here has not been rib stitched here on this aileron. This is a Star Gloss primer, and then we use Ranthane on top of that to paint it. Any questions? There's one wing right behind you that's not been primed yet, so that's kind of the stage where it goes through. We still rib stitch our wings. So we feel like attaching that bottom and that lower fabric's still the best way. A lot of people went to pop rivets and other things, but we still stayed the old school way with rib stitching and stuff. Okie dokie.
That's funny.
Let's walk around here.
This made the trip worthwhile, didn't it?
Well, it's just labor intensive, man. See, here's the, when you, after you stitch, you put this on top of it, cover the stitch. See how they got it laid out?
Mm-hmm.
This wing will have flaps.
I wonder if they've ever built the fuselage out of aluminum instead of inking out. You use a heat gun.
Yeah, you might as well consider them flutes. That's nice. I feel like that's
That's my kind of plate right there.
You guys, oh, you're over the Turno. You know Luke's for? Steph's not.
Yeah, he talked about a few of his flights. That green airplane out there.
Yeah, he'll claim that's his, but it's really not. But yeah, Luke, he's a great son. I mean, and real good. And he's actually going to pick me up at 1 o'clock and fly me up to Bentonville to pick up an airplane. And then tomorrow he's going down to Louisiana to pick up his mom.
Yeah, I had class with a few times with him,
So he's been getting lots of flying in, which is what the goal is. I said you got to get that 1,500 hours now. So we call him our personal airline company pilot. All right, so everybody pretty much here. This is our production area. You'll see a mix of restorations and different types of aircraft here. This airplane, this orange one, the blue one, the gray and red one are all brand new aircraft coming down the line. The red, white, and blue one right behind you is a Piper P-18 Super Cut. So you're going to say, well, that looks just like ours, but you'll notice that the door is only on one side. And if you look inside, the cabin's quite a bit more narrow than the Legend Cub and stuff. But we did a lot of different STCs on it. We have the extended baggage on there. We did an X-brace under the wing structure. We got the battery mods. We got welded in seat brackets and stuff. So there's probably close to about 20 STCs that we're doing just on that aircraft. We're putting the Behringer wheel and brake STC, the 10-inch wheels and brakes on it. They have the STC for that and the big tires. But the problem with that airplane is that you're limited only to STCs and modifications on that aircraft. Where if you get to ours, we can put pretty much anything we want on the thing. We can go with a better suspension system. We can go with the Acme shocks or Monster shocks. We can put a different tail wheel suspension underneath it, and really makes some huge improvements. We can do leading edge slats on ours, and where these are not approved for a Piper P-18, but we approved them on our airplanes. These airplanes, mainly all in this area, are all build assist programs where the owners will come in here and actually build on their airplane. So we take them through the whole production process. They start out just like in the weld shop. We have some certain areas that we'll sit down. If they want to weld, we'll let them weld a little bit, but they'll do a very light touch of welding on the fuselage. Usually it's one of those light non-structural areas we'll let them weld on. But some guys like to say, hey, I welded part on this airplane and stuff. And we do the same thing as in the covering department. They'll spend a week or two in our covering department, and they'll cover on the wings and their fuselage and all their tail services and everything else. So, and then they'll come to the wing department and help build their wings. It's about a 28-day build process when they go through the whole program. They still have to meet that 51% rule. Then they have to sign the paper that they built 51% of that aircraft. So we try to be as close as we can, and putting their hands on every part of the aircraft and stuff. And then it goes to the assembly stage where they'll hang the wings and do the engine, landing gear, tail, and so forth on the on building the aircraft. So, you know, they may come in here for 2 or 3 days at a time. They may come in at weeks at a time. It just varies on their schedule and what they can do on the aircraft. We try not to let the aircraft sit idle. We try to get them through the whole build process and go through that route. Behind me is kind of our work scope on how we do things in the company. You know, as far as our aircraft and what type, tells the employees what's going on in the company. Unfortunately, we've gotten a ton of orders coming in lately. We probably have a service work all the way down to here that we have to bring up on the screen and stuff. But it just kind of tells you where things are on weld and wings and pre-assembly and stuff like that. And it also tells you the options of what they're going with. So it's just a communication tool that we use. We'll probably have to go with another screen to put our service work on it eventually. You can see that we try to schedule things out, you know, 1 a month. Sometimes there's 2, but you know, we try to go 1 a month is what we try to do on our deliveries and stuff. Right now, we're kind of experiencing a shortage of parts and getting engines and props and stuff like that. Everybody wants to blame things on COVID and can't get parts, and it's legitimate too. I mean, we use the Titan engine, and Continental gets their cranks made over in Germany and a lot of the work, and you know, that country's pretty much shut down. So we've been Hartzell propellers. We got a Trailblazer prop going on this one. This airplane's been done since December, and it's on the back of the line, but we've been waiting for 3 months just to get the Hartzell Trailblazer prop on this airplane. So we're kind of getting that little bit of an experience of having to delay aircraft because we can't get the materials and parts to build the aircraft.
How many employees do you have?
We have 30, close to 30. I think we're 29. So it's a big payroll, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, so we have to keep things flowing. I mean, that's the whole key, is we have to keep things flowing and keeping things going out the door. We have 3 airplanes coming in this weekend. I'm going up to Bentonville at 1 o'clock today to go pick up an airplane out of Bentonville. I'm going to Louisiana to pick up a trade-in down there tomorrow, and then I have a guy coming in from somewhere out east that's dropping off an airplane that we're going to be putting floats on. You'll see lots of float action going on behind here. We got a Piper Super Cub going on whip 2100s. I got 4 sets of PK floats, 3 are ramfits, 1 are straight floats. The blue airplane over here is waiting on floats to come in. So we got a lot going on in both our restoration and new aircraft and stuff.
You said the trees is
Yeah, it's like playing an orchestra. I mean, I tell everybody you have to have, you know, we have to have fuselage being built when wings are being built, and it has to flow through our production and stuff. And it's basically, it's a parts business, and if you can get the parts in here, the business runs just fine. But it's really a parts business out there.
Just parts all in a close formation.
This is the rock star photographer for the company, Jim Wilson.
Hi guys.
He does a lot of our, almost all of our photography and videoing, the stuff you see on YouTube and photos on our website and stuff.
We've even
It's
got
by
some
this-
stuff you can't see on YouTube.
Yeah.
I see you've been banned too. Okay.
Yeah.
Demonetized.
So, and every time we do a photo shoot, we have a big smile on our face.
We do,
It's
no?
been a lot of fun.
It's a good way to spend a dawn and a dusk.
That's right. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna walk around the corner. We're gonna show you the wing department and a couple other things.
Look at that Garmin.
Mm-hmm.
You see it in there? I don't know which one it is though. 600, 800, I don't know what Garmin
That's it's
it is. The whole thing is just nothing but one.
Is
It's touchscreen.
Oh, I know. You obviously there's no knobs.
No buttons and knobs.
That's the
Yeah.
extended aileron option, only for a few pilots.
the aerobatic version.
That's the thrust.
Those are drooped ailerons. This is a model airplane here. That's an 0300. I mean an 0200. You add one more cylinder and you got my engine. Well, you add a gearbox.
Gearbox. Did they make a GO 200?
No.
I didn't think so. I know with your engine, it's
They
kind
do
of.
make a GO 470.
All right, well, this is our wing department. Everything you see, we build pretty much from scratch. The whole airplane. You see where we build up the airframes. This is where we build up the wings. We start out with these fixtures right here. This is our tooling or our molds, whatever you want to call them, or making all of our ribs. And they'll make those ribs and they'll put them along the wall back here.
As a kid, this is how you made your
There's
model
different
ribs.
types, you know,
You
maybe
laid
an
out the
aileron
ribs
cove
and
rib
put
or
all the
no
paper
flap
on it.
rib or a flap
Well,
rib
model
and so
airplane.
forth. So
That's the way they make a real one.
but
You mean a
they'll-
kid
they'll start
airplane?
out the raw extrude.
No, I mean
put
a
all the
regular
sports in
model.
Oh, like
there,
RC
put the
model?
ribs.
No, I mean just
We
put
have
up on the wall.
spars that are all large.
You
cut
literally
out.
laid out all the
We
ribs
get 'em,
and then you painted it. You did everything
right behind
you
you.
did. Built the wing.
And then
all this. It
they'll
was-
slide these
I
ribs
was
up on
also
the wing and put
painted.
all the cross bracing support and everything else.
Well, if you want to buy a kit box, it's the same way. You build a kit.
Yeah.
And they might send you a whole fuselage, but you build your wings, you do all your wing spars, you put all the rivets, you do everything.
She sets the wing and a little bit of a
And
washout
they
on the
drill the
wings.
holes for you.
Freeze
That's
an inch
what's
washout on it.
great.
And that's built in those
And
tools
some
right
of
there.
them, you
So
put them all together.
when you
with
get ready to
pop
put it on the airplane,
I think
you
that's a
don't
kit
have
box.
excessive twist in
I
your
mean,
wing
the
with your
curing
leading
bags are
edges
not just
on.
plain old pop
When you put it
rivets.
right where it's supposed to be,
You
you'll
don't
get
have to
wrinkles on
pop
the
it.
leading edges. So that's why we
Riveting is an
have our
art.
fixture right there just to keep that from happening and stuff. This wing right here is kind of a new wing that I'm working on for our competition. Airplane, really another MOAC 2, we'll call it. Some people call it the Beast. And basically, we're building this airplane just for competition. So you see a little bit of a stump work going on right here. But there's additional ribs on it. We add a little bit of a rear spar support for extra loading on it. We are adding 2 more feet on each wing, so we're going to have close to a 40-foot wingspan on this aircraft.
Wow.
Where we run 36.
Stall at 10 miles an hour.
Right.
I'm gonna solar this or
And the other thing we're doing is that we have these new flaps called P-stall flaps. So they're a slide flap, we're gonna add that on. And we extended the normal flap area from here, we had 2 more feet of flap. So we're almost right at where the strut attach point is. And then we're deepening our cord on our aileron to give us more aileron at our slow speeds and stuff. And the fuselage for that airplane is that one that's covered right there. Basically, it's an empty fuselage for no interior. We're putting no interior in it. We're keeping it nice. We can go. We're hoping to get around 950 to 1,000 pounds on the empty weight of the aircraft.
Like you're building.
So you think Payne's got some? He has some competition going on, I tell you.
Like you're building a storage.
Yeah. We Bobby Looper built a custom engine for me. It's a angle valve 370, and then we're putting a little shot of nitrous in there as a little secret.
Wow.
A little shot of nitrous for takeoff. So we're hoping we only need it for 3 seconds, but we're hoping that we'll get off the ground about 20 feet.
Wow.
All speed around 15, 20. Can you build your fuselage frame out of aluminum?
You could.
How much weight would you say?
There's a lot of
if you did?
ultralights built out of aluminum. I mean, they're fine. I don't like the pop rivets and the structural integrity. You usually have to go, like we use like 035 or 040 inch wall thickness, and a lot of times to get the equal strength, you have to multiply it about 3 to 4 times on aluminum to get the same strength as a steel tube.
Yeah.
So that's why we probably won't.
And
do
you
that.
end up with about the same weight then, right?
Right. So, there is titanium. We use a titanium firewall to save a lot of weight versus a stainless one. You could do titanium tubes to save weight, but the cost is just unreal when you go titanium.
Yeah.
You'll see things like we use a lot of carbon fiber in our aircraft. When we go walk over here, you'll see all the floorboards, our cowling. There's a cowling over there on that table that's all carbon fiber, and you can save a lot of weight using those components. We actually do all of our, we'll walk around there in just a minute, but we do all of our carbon fiber layups and everything over here in the corner of the shop. Just a quick reference, you'll see an old Piper J3 wing with the original wood spars. which is not uncommon in a lot of aircraft today. But that's how those it was because of the war in 1946. They switched over back to aluminum spars and stuff, just like we have today.
Actually, Jay, the old,
Am I lying too much?
I'm doing good.
the original Moonies had a wood spar. You know what a Moonie is? You seen
Oh,
Moonies?
I've seen Moonies. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they had the original ones had a wood spar.
Yeah.
It's my understanding that Grummans are made of recycled Moonies.
There you go. So this is a aircraft that's being what we call pre-assembly stage. So before it goes to fabric, we try to do as much work as we can because this is easier to get to before you cover it with fabric. So this is pretty close to what going up to the cover shop, but you'll see that we do the floorboards, we do the baggage, we do all the control cables where we can, we do the throttle, the trim install, all the stringers, and build the boot cowl and everything else when it's at this stage, and then they'll go up to cover and be covered, get fabric cover and painted. Every airplane's got a tag on it. This is order 349, and it's actually this airplane's going to Mexico. We got 3 airplanes we're building right now. They're going to Australia. So we do a lot of exporting.
Why did he order like a heel brake? That sounds good.
Well, because heel brakes are real pilots fly heel brakes, right?
Because toe brakes are for babies.
Yeah, heel brakes the way it used to be. You get
That's the titanium. Yep.
So if you fly a lot of tri-stroke airplanes with toe brakes, I think you need a tailwheel airplane with heel brakes. That way your mind makes a mental change when you jump in a tailwheel airplane.
We know a guy that has toe brakes, don't we?
Yeah. Not me. We know a guy. We fixed his airplane.
you have a tendency to drag your brakes with heel brakes until you get used to it.
And a tailwheel airplane, even our airplane, are the #1 income resource that we have for repairs. Because people fly airplanes sometimes like they fly cars, and if they get scared or anything like that, going off into the grass or something, the first thing to do is they hit the brakes and put on its nose. And I can't tell you how many airplanes I've seen sitting right on the edge of the grass where they could have been better off just going in the grass and getting stuck in the ditch or doing a ground loop.
Don't get personal.
What happens is you've been taught in a tri-stroke airplane, if emergency happens on the ground, you mash on the brakes, right? That's not what you do in a tailwheel airplane. And yes, the heel brakes are less effective. I will admit to that. They're as effective if you get good at them. But when you're initial tailwheel pilot, you have to come off of the rudder to get on the brakes. And to get on the rudder, you have to come off of the brakes. So you don't give it all of everything at one time. But if you have toe brakes and you get scared, you're going to go right up to the top of that and smash that toe brake on one side, and it's going to roll over, ground loop every time. I see it all the time. So I'm for heel brakes. I know Darren's for toe brakes, but I'm for heel brakes.
You can get more arguments over heel brakes and toe brakes than anything else that sells.
Well,
They are hard to
sell
learn
all
how to
toe brake
use.
airplanes, we could repair half of the ones we sell, so because they roll them over. But that's what I see as a tailwheel instructor, is that brakes are your biggest problem. And if I can get you to fly the airplane without the brakes before you start using them, we're much better off.
Yeah.
But if you go heel brakes, you're less likely to do both at the same time. So.
You know what? And I just got my tailwheel endorsement not even 2 months ago, and 3 months ago. And my instructor, I'm flying a super decathlon, and same deal. I'd be flying down and I'd be up at the top of the pedals instead of once I'm rolling, I need to drop my heels down. And just just wouldn't do it.
Well,
you're on the brakes, Jay. You're on the brakes.
The Laternal students over here, and the fortunate thing about Laternal is they teach all their students in tailwheel aircraft, and so.
Well, you know, snob pilot would say that. Well, you're not a real pilot until you can fly a tailwheel. So.
No, that's just accurate.
Actually, you're not a real pilot till you can taxi a tailwheel airplane. Flying is just the same, right?
Darren, tell them about your plans for putting a nose wheel on me.
No.
No.
It ain't gonna happen. So we're gonna make one more little trip back in the corner. I'm sorry, but I'm a little bit long-winded on my chairs versus some of the other guys around here, so you might be getting a little punishment going on.
understand there was
All right, for
once
J3
an
Cup right here.
STC.
So it's a restoration. My group's getting smaller, so it must be giving up on me.
Those are just the tire kickers.
Vacuum bag?
Yeah. Yeah, we back and bag everything.
That's like an Aeronco or something.
For the culling.
All right, everybody coming around the corner. Okay, just a real quick area. This is where we do all of our composite work. We do a wet layup, and then we do vacuum bagging. We build our own cowlings. We do our floorboards. We do sidewall panels, baggage doors, everything else that you see in the aircraft we're built back in this area. We even build our own floats. Float business is the worst business to be in, but we still build floats. There's no margin on there. We find out that there's a reason why a lot of float companies go out of business. I have a hard time making money because they're just plain out expensive to make. You know, that's why we got 4 sets of PK floats coming around, because it's better to buy them than build them ourselves, like we find out. Anybody know the owner of this aircraft right here?
Private in that aircraft.
So, did you?
Yeah.
Well, it's in sick bay right now, but the new fuselage frame is going to be here probably this next week. They're supposed to ship on Friday, so we're hoping to get that thing turned around and get it back into service. I mentioned 40% of our business was service work. I mean, this is, we typically do 1 to 2 aircraft a year on recovering Letourneau's aircraft. We are actually going to be there on Thursday with 3 of our airplanes, because Letourneau's actually looking at trying to replace and increase some of their fleet. Their flight department's just going crazy right now with the amount of students going on. And so they're looking at putting a few of the Legend Cubs in their fleet. So we're going to be out there Thursday with 3 of them to show the chief flight instructors the airplane on flight and stuff. This aircraft was caused by, it was being repaired because of one little item was out of the aircraft. It was a carter pin in the aircraft. If you, the front rotor pedal, and it wasn't the pilot's, fortunately it was a mechanic flight, but there's a little pin that goes in from the brake to the master cylinder right here, and that pin fell out. The pedal went like this, and he lost brake and he lost control of the aircraft on the right pedal, all because of one carter pin.
I watched him crash it.
Yeah, so that's the reason right there, and that's why it's important to do, you know, inspections and do pre-flights on your aircraft, especially after our maintenance and stuff. This one had a brand new engine and everything on it.
He was doing a break in flight for the engine.
Yeah.
But I would have never seen that on a pre-flight checklist to check the pins on the.
You should always check all your hinge points and all your pivot points. You should make a routine to really go out there and check some of that stuff. But you know, this thing basically went and hit a sign out in the middle of the runway, I guess, and then it bit some. It's repairable. The damage was done on it. Because it's Letourneau, they are very, they like their aircraft to be very well maintained and taken care of and stuff. Insurance company says buy them a new frame, so we buy them a new frame and everything else. So we call ACA up and order a new frame for them.
You ought to sell that story to air disasters.
Yeah. I just want to show you guys that. Just
yeah, I didn't know it was here.
Yeah, that's the minutia they look for.
Yeah, we have 1 or 2 airplanes coming in June, I think.
For recovering?
For wing recover and stuff. You're more than welcome to look around, look at aircraft in here. Just watch your heads when you go underneath airplanes. I can't tell you how many gas marks we have on the foreheads and everything else, so just be careful where you walk around stuff. And hope you enjoyed the tour and everything.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I understand that some of the old guys, like the
Any questions? No questions?
I think the statement is, I don't know what I don't know. Hey, thanks for watching my video. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like instant email notifications of channel updates, please find the link in the description below.